Hi, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. But before we start off, I want to highlight that the SFSS respectfully acknowledges its location on a traditional unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including Musqueam, Squamish, Swallowtooth, Coquitlam, and Catsi nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently resided on occupied territories. So in terms of the roll call of attendance, when I call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and your access needs. I will start with myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Judith. I go by she, her pronouns, and all my access needs are met. I will pass it on to VP Finance.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby. He, him pronouns, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will pass it on to the Data Science Counselor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vadim. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all of my access needs are met as usual.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to pass this on to our society staff and our admin assistant.
Hi, everyone. I'm Simmer. My pronouns are he and him, and all my access needs are met. I'll just be keeping my camera off.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, cool. We can move on to our consent agenda, which reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. So I will seek unanimous consent on this. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. Seeing none, that is carried. So we can move on to item number 5, which is the adoption of the agenda. The motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Can I get a mover?
VP Finance.
VP Finance moves. Can I get a second?
I can be a seconder. What should I say?
That's all good. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Data Science seconds. All right. So this is the chance if you want to amend the agenda, add anything to it. Okay, have a listen to chat. Go ahead, Abby.
Just a comment for the agenda. Looking at number 3, roll call of attendances. 3.1, Oversight Committee on Executive Officers Composition. Don't think this is the OCEO, so we should probably get that changed for the minutes. That's why I was laughing earlier. I saw that and I was like,
I concur. Oh, this happened to Governance Committee as well. All right, cool. I will make a note for that to be changed before the minutes are sent out. We are not the Oversight Committee. Well, this is the second time somebody thinks that I am the Oversight Committee. All right, thank you. Any amendments to the agenda? If there aren't any amendments to the agenda, I'm gonna move this to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, raise your hand or indicate in the chat. Seeing no dissent, that carries. We can now move on to new business. So we have new business under 10.1, appointment of vice chair. The motion reads, be it resolved to appoint Councillor X as vice chair of nominating committee for 2022-23 council year. I will move. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. All right, so I'm going to open the floor for discussion, and I'm going to start with myself right now. I just want to do a quick little roundabout description as to what a vice chair does for this committee or any committee in general. So the vice chair is technically in charge in case that the chair of the committee, aka myself, is not available to call meetings. So they would take on the role of calling the meetings and chairing them if necessary. Obviously, in this situation, they'd also be in charge of making sure the agenda is approved and the minutes are approved and all that is handled. So in essence, the vice chair just steps in most of the cases when the chair is simply MIA. So in the case that they take a leave of absence, in the case that they're removed from the committee for whatever reason, in the case that they are removed from office, period. In that case, the vice chair would take on the responsibility of overseeing that this committee functions and calls for meetings and that basically does the chair's duties as delegated. Does anybody have any questions as to what the vice chair role does before I open it up to nominations? If there aren't any questions, I will open up the floor for nominations. If you would like to nominate yourself, please list yourself in the chat. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll nominate myself.
All right. Okay, that's the first call for nominations. Second call. Third call. Okay. Seeing that you are running unopposed, congratulations, Abby. You will be the next vice chair of nominating committee. So I'm going to move to amend the motion to strike Counselor X and replace it with Abhishek Parmar. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I will open up the floor for discussion on the amendment. Seeing, yes, Abby, go ahead.
Since I ran unopposed, I didn't get to do a speech, so I'm going to do a speech now. As a vice chair of nominating committee, I promise in the rare case that if Judith's unavailable or is taking LOA, I will do my best to not let this committee go to absolute heck in a handbasket. That I promise you. Thank you.
Okay, noted. Okay, amazing. Thank you for that. Is there any more discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, I will seek unanimous consent on the amendment. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. Seeing no dissent, the amendment carries. So now we're back to the main motion, which now reads, be it resolved to appoint Abhishek Parmar as vice chair of the nominating committee for the 2022-23 council year. Opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, taking it to vote, seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, raise your hand, indicate in the chat, or just show of life. Seeing none, that carries as amended. Congratulations, Abby. Let's hope that you don't have to take on those vice chair duties. All right, we can now move on to our discussion items today. So the first one is 11.1, nominating committee terms of reference review and past practice, submitted by myself. So this committee, as some may already know, is basically a committee that oversees the at-large appointments to certain committees. Not all, but majority of council committees that do have at-large representatives, which are basically students from SFU who are not holding a council seat or are not executives. So they basically apply through whatever platform you allow them to. This year it was Jotform. And they basically apply as to like whether they want to join a committee, they pitch themselves and all that. And then the committees who they apply to, it's their responsibility to review the applicants and then eventually submit them to nominating committee, that's us, and then have us review them and then basically push them through council to appoint them into their at-large positions. So because nominating committee has only started relatively nowish versus starting immediately in May, some of the committees have already been reviewing their at-large reps, but our job is basically to ensure that whoever they choose is in line with our policies and making sure that they are a good representation of the SFSS. So a lot of our things that if we discuss people who are being appointed or being considered to be appointed, it would be in camera because it's privacy and confidentiality of the folks. But yeah, that's basically what nominating committee does. It's nothing overwhelmingly crazy. Composition is very easy, very simple. It's myself, VP internal, the ex officio, the president, whom we may drag in for quorum if we need it, and then 2 counselors. So it's a pretty small committee, and we're basically just overseeing to make sure that everyone who gets appointed as a member at large is done through the proper channels in the proper way. Does anybody have questions about terms of reference and what we do and anything at all? If not, I can probably say this because it's on the website. You can probably see it yourself. Nominating committee doesn't meet that often. It's more on a need basis, depending on whether there's any spots to fill on committees. So we will not be meeting bi-weekly forever onwards. I think in the beginning we will meet just to make sure all the committees who have at-large folks on it do get their people approved and by council and by us. But we will most likely be meeting more on a need-to-know basis when there is anything to fill. So don't worry, I will not be dragging you out on a Friday afternoon every single 2 weeks or so. Once we get the appointments done, I suspect we won't be meeting for a while. And then if there's any openings, we might meet again. But yeah. Any questions, thoughts?
So do we have any like open positions right now? Like I just want to confirm, like, is there any like long-term plan, or is it just like happens sporadically?
Yeah, so at-large recruitments have started pretty much halfway through May. So we do have people who have applied to be an at-large member, and in terms of who is supposed to get on there, we had started recruiting for a couple of them, like finance committee, university and academic affairs, external and community affairs, events and student affairs, I believe, have all had like calls go out for at-large members. To give you an idea as to how many committees we need to fill for at-large members, at this point, there are 2 seats for finance committee. There are 7 seats for academic affairs, another 7 seats for external and community affairs. There will be 6 seats for equity and sustainability. There will be 6 seats for BIPOC committee. There will be an additional 4 seats for accessibility committee. There will be another 7 seats for events and student affairs. There will be, 6 for Surrey campus. There will be another 6 for Vancouver campus. And then there will be another 6 for first year engagement. There are going to be 4 seats for member services advisory. And there are 2 seats for space oversight committee. So as of now, the calls have gone out for finance, academic affairs, external, events and student affairs, equity and space oversight. So we will be filling those positions as they come up. But there are a couple other committees whose calls haven't gone out yet. So. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So, because like as I understood, some of these positions are filled during our like regular meetings, but I'm just a little bit confused. Like, should we basically is our like only responsibility is to provide like recommendations and basically, yeah, or should we basically go and look for every candidate and do the job independent from our like regular meetings?
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't skip your list, but to have a direct response to that. So we would be just meeting at our normal like 5:30 slots. I will not be moving our time around. I do want to give committee chairs and committees time to review the candidates they received, and based on what they received, we review them, we okay them, and we push them at council. So we will not be moving our meeting time around. I expect we might have like 2, maybe 3 more like regularly scheduled meetings bi-weekly, and then I think once those are done, I think we'll have a month or 2 where we don't have to meet, and then I have to meet again. if somebody leaves the committee and there's another call out to fill a position. But yeah, that's what I mean, that we will not be a very, very like regular committee, because once those positions are filled, there's not much of a point to us meeting, because our only purpose is to make sure those positions get filled. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Of course. Abby, you're next on the list.
I was actually just going to answer a little bit of what Vadim said as well. Vadim, you mentioned the elections during council. Those are specifically for counselors. So at-large reps are separate. At-large reps are just students, general SFU undergrads, whereas the elections done during council meetings are specifically for counselors. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I understood. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's usually how this committee has worked, and because of that, I hope that this will go up without a hitch. And usually committee member at large appointments usually go on the consent agenda and the council agenda as well. So there's usually not any issues there. But yeah, any more questions, thoughts on this? Okay, if there isn't any more on this, I will move on to 11.2, which is PIPA and confidentiality expectations. So, because we are reviewing people and ensuring that everything's above board on our end, there is an expectation of relative confidentiality as to reviewing people's names and such. So these reviews will only happen in camera, because that's how our in-camera practices work at the SFSS. So I do expect that when we go in camera, you are not going to share the information discussed in camera, ex-camera, and also that you will not be going around telling people things about candidates and what you have seen in the in-camera session, who you have seen, what your thoughts were on those candidates. Eventually, we'll be pushing motions as to approve things and push them to council, but there is an expectation that people's personal information will be respected and treated with the utmost confidentiality when we review them. But yeah, so I have to put that out there. Anybody have questions on this, thoughts on this? I don't think there will be, but I just want to flag that. Okay, if there's not any questions on this as to why I'm rambling about PIPA, that's fine. So we can just move on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 12, which reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. I will move. Can I get a second?
VP of Finance.
VP of Finance seconds. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, I'll take this to vote. Seeing unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. Seeing no dissent, that carries. I'm going to pause the recording and we will be back soon. All right, so on the next item on our agenda is moving ex camera. The motion reads, be it resolved to go ex camera. I will move. Can I get a second?
Data science.
Okay, data science will second. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing no discussion, I will take this to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. Seeing no dissent, that carries unanimously. All right, cool. So our final item on our agenda is adjournment. So the motion reads, be it resolved to adjourn this meeting at 6:25 p.m. I will move. Can I get a second?
VP of Finance.
VP of Finance seconds. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing no discussion, I will take this to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. Seeing no dissent, that carries, and we have adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming out, and I will see you next time.
Thank you, guys.